Question. How many of you have ever seen one of our panels that we've done here, either the Alien, the Indiana Jones, or the video game panel at Comic-Con last year? Okay, great. Enough to come back. So I'm Gareth. I created, skewed, and reviewed, and we have a website, a magazine, do radio, syndication, and we cover pretty much everything, movies, games, television, pop culture, entertainment. I worked in the gaming industry and been doing panels forever, and this is, my third year now at Wondercon, so very happy about that. We did Comic-Con last year, and I'll let everyone else introduce themselves.
I'm Mike Newman. My voice is kind of coming in and out today, so I apologize. I've been working with Gareth for Skewed and Reviewed for, 6 years? 10 plus years. Do a lot of video game reviews. I've done quite a few beta tests in the past. Do a lot of movie reviews, that sort of thing too. So, other than my voice not working today, I do this on a regular basis.
I am Karen Newman. I am married to this cutie cutes right here. And he did not fess up on why he lost his voice as we went to the Sweet 16 game to see Arizona lose to Clemson the other night. So we're sad. But here we are. Anyway, I been working with Gareth for about the same time Michael has. I do more of the movie stuff and the pop culture stuff, and I love horror stuff, and so that's kind of what I try and focus on when Gareth lets me, and that's it.
Well, I've been working with Gareth since 2019. Usually help out with interviews, some Disneyland stuff, but outside of helping out here, I work in the film industry in the accounting department. So.
And I also wanted to mention my wife is here, who is our managing editor, but she is very sick, so she is sitting in the crowd with no voice, taking pictures of us. So, but she is here, and I'll get my critique from her right after the show today. So that's really good. So anyway, what we're going to do, I've got so much stuff, and I wanted to preface it by saying a lot of turmoil in the gaming industry right now. We have people in the industry have told me that they expect as many as 1/3 of the developers could be out of work within the next year. You have people unionizing. We've heard things about some of the people, the SAG-AFTRA's cut an agreement with some of them to use talent, but there was some labor unrest there. You've got high-profile games not meeting expectations. Some of these games, as you may know, can cost $200, $300 million to get out the door, which is more than some of these major films, which have also had some problems at the box office. And you also have this situation where the PR firms are asking for more and more and more from the outlets, but they're not even giving us review code, which is causing several outlets to say, forget it, no more coverage, which in turn is causing the games to not meet expectations. So you're seeing a lot of indies, and then even at the few remaining game cons that are left, the big boys aren't showing up, the mid-level people aren't showing up. It's an indie fest. But we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. We will take questions, and rather than show a trailer, talk about it, we're going to run about an 18-minute sizzle reel and then get to the questions. And well, the topics and then the questions. So, sorry. Each read off a few pending things. So, obviously there's a new Nintendo in the works. It was due out late this year. It got pushed to first quarter of next year. It's basically in the industry it's called the Switch 2, but that may not be the final name. Someone during a press conference recently let slip that there's already a PS6 in development, and it is not the PS5 Pro, which is good because I'll do the first set and then we'll go down the line here. Here's what's recently announced and coming. So, new Call of Duty game this year. I'm told it's Black Ops Gulf War. Title may change. I'm excited at that. Borderlands has got a sequel coming just in time for the movie, and we will be talking about that tomorrow during the games and TV shows and movies panel. But they were bought out by Take-Two, and they decided to let slip a new Borderlands game, and possibly another Tiny Tina game is in the works. Very curious about a couple that we'd heard rumors on. Far Cry 6 set in Alaska, and possibly a massive online Far Cry game. There hasn't been any official announcement, but a lot of rumors on this. A Ghost Recon first-person shooter, which definitely had me very curious. A Dead Space 2 remake, kind of like they did with the recent remaster. And for those, I don't know if you've seen the Alien Romulus trailer that dropped the other day, a developer said, yes, our solo play Alien game with VR features is still very much in the production stage. The rumor I heard was they said, think Alien Dead Space with VR. Michael, you want to?
Yeah, I'm trying to get through some of this. Obviously, GTA 6 has been announced. The rumor is 2025.
I've heard it might slip again.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably will slip. It'll probably be out for PlayStation 6
Or 7.
or 8 at this point. Death Stranding 2 obviously was announced. That's coming out maybe 2025 also.
On the beach, no less.
Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2 maybe someday.
I'll believe that.
Yeah,
I think the UFOs are going to land before we get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously,
Land again, sorry.
a new Assassin's Creed is in the works as always.
Yeah.
Obviously, Marvel Blade, which is going to go along with the upcoming movie
Yeah.
potentially, and then obviously a new BioShock, which would be something I'd be excited to see if we actually see it.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get the BioShock TV show, which series we're going to talk about, and a new game. How about BioShock in VR? Can you imagine how that would be? Oh. Yeah.
There is possibly a Dragon Age Dreadwolf.
Red
Dreadwolf?
Yeah, sorry.
Deadwolf. And then Dune Awakening. And then Fallout 5. Hades 2. Marvel's Wolverine. Kingdom Hearts 4. And Mass Effect 5.
One of the things I'm most excited for is the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake that keeps getting pushed back.
It keeps being canceled, redone, new studio.
And now that we have a new Nintendo and PS6, hopefully,
Right.
wait until then. Another Star Wars Eclipse game sounds promising. Prince of Persia remake, maybe they're gearing up to do that because maybe there's a possible movie coming down the line. Just very interesting. When it comes to Blade, how you guys talked about it's getting pushed, our movie, does the game get pushed like the movie?
I think it would have to, right? One over the other.
The movie is supposed to start filming like really soon. They said the script and everything's finally locked in, so I heard like later this year they're going to start filming, so hopefully.
I might hear something about it.
Oh, flip it over.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's
Flip it over. And
more.
how many of you remember Star Wars Eclipse? Yeah, very few had. This was something that was very briefly teased like 2 years ago, and we never heard a peep from it. It's from, if I remember correctly, Quantum Dreams, the people that do the very interesting games for the PlayStation. And they had that Android game recently that was Beyond Human, which was really interesting. But they're still coming. State of Decay 3, and then the other one we always laugh about. Which will we see first, Beyond Good and Evil 2 or The Elder Scrolls 6? Which they keep telling us is definitely coming.
We'll see Elder Scrolls 6 before Beyond Good and Evil for sure.
And then we got The Outer Worlds 2, The Sims 5, The Witcher 4, and Wonder Woman. And so, obviously, lots of potential, lots of options there. So, to be mindful, I'm just leaving this up as a placeholder, then if you needed anything on that. We have plenty of time for your questions and comments before we get on to anything else, because we definitely want to know what you folks are interested in hearing about and rumors.
I actually do have 2 questions. One is, what is the status on the Gladiator game Star Wars Hunters? My name is Luke Rainers, and I am a big Star Wars fan.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay?
I am curious on what the status is with Star Wars Hunters.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you had a second question I was going to answer. Okay, so Star Wars Hunters, this is a very interesting thing. That's one of those games that we hear it's dead, then we hear it's coming, then we hear it's dead. Now, supposedly, this is all we know. EA was working on a Star Wars game. They told us that it was essentially a Mandalorian style game. That apparently gone. Respawn, who do the Apex Legends and Titanfall, and of course the Jedi Fallen Order series, they apparently were working on a game, and they've said their priority is Jedi Fallen Order 3. So, as of last week, it was dead, but then we heard rumors that no, it's a different game, it's dead, Hunters may happen. So when we asked about it, we got zero reply. So I would say it's in limbo right now. It's either dead or in limbo would be the best answer I could give you.
My other question is, when you review video games, I'm curious, how do you judge the video game story? Like, before,
Oh, good question.
like, whenever you play a video game, like, a video game would be the easiest example. How do you judge the story? Like, how do you judge its length, its time, its adventure? Then when people get to explore the world afterwards, how do you judge the story? That's something I've always been curious about.
What a fantastic question. We'll start down the line, we'll let them do it, and then I'll do the. Victor, you want to start with that one?
I don't think I've reviewed a video game.
Or when you play
Want
it.
me to go first? Okay. What I like to do when I look at that, I personally like the character development, and if the characters have a really good part of the story, then I like to rate it more high as long as the characters and they have like a point to the story and the story is a good story, something that I can immerse myself in and that I want to play, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for.
and to go along with that, I mean, there's always a big trade-off between length of time in a game versus what you paid for it. So for me, it's all about, I'm more about quality than quantity. If you tell a good story in 7 hours, is it worth the $60? Maybe, but I'd rather play a good story, 7-hour game, than get bogged down with just quantity to fill up space. And so you're playing a 40-hour game and 30 of it is just wasted fill in the blank stuff. So for me, it's always about, I'd rather have a much higher quality story with character development, a lot more. You focus on it being story driven and have less hours of gameplay than strictly saying this game takes 40 hours to complete, where 35 of that is just filler, going side quests where you're just collecting things or doing things like that. So for me, I think a story, for just like a movie, for something that tells a good story and that I get immersed in, I'd rather be through it quicker and enjoy my time than feel like I have to trudge along just to complete it. So that's kind of always been my focus. I'd much rather have whether that's single player, story driven, whether that's multiplayer where you and your friends are creating the story yourselves. There's lots of different ways to do that when you're looking at the games in particular. But a good story, if I can get through a game and not feel like I'm looking at my watch, how much more time do I have to complete this? It tells me that there's actually a good story to be told there. So, and I think we've seen lots of versions of some that are short but tell an excellent story, or some that were really long and told a story at all.
Yeah, my take on it is I kind of take it from the movie aspect, since I do a lot of film reviews too. No good story is too long, and no bad story is short enough. And there are some games that I play and you just are sitting there going, this is tedious, how long are they going to keep stretching out the story? I get it, and then you get some that you go through it and you're like, wow, the game's over already, what happened? And then you have some that you look at, and I just look at it as the experience. At the end of it, when the credits roll on it, I look back and say, did I have fun and do I want more? And that's a good question. If they want me, looking for another chapter like Half-Life, like Portal, like Left 4 Dead, then I say, hey, they did a great job. But if it's something you get through and you go, yeah, I'm good, don't really care about the DLC, then there you go. So hopefully that answered it.
It would be like the immersive experience, like being able to build up a character while you're getting through the game. A lot of the times I had to struggle with the question because I'm playing like Fortnite or something like that. So as far as stories go.
I'll just say I honestly don't care much about the time. I do care a bit about how long the story is, but as long as it's a good story, and I like being able to explore the worlds afterwards, so that's like my main desire. But thank you a lot for your inputs. I'm really surprised and appreciate your answers.
Thank you.
That was a really good question.
Yeah, it's quality over quantity, but which I agree with, absolutely.
Words to live by.
Yeah, always.
And what do you have for us?
I've been waiting for many, many years. I heard Outer Worlds 2 so long. And do you have any more information on that?
Well, this is one of those fun things where I used to be able to say in the time when the world was normaler, oh yeah, we should hear something at E3 in June. Well, yeah, that's all out the window right now. And without, I mean, the few cons that are gaming-related cons, the big ones aren't even showing up. They're just literally on their own. That Marvel thing that I showed you to start we had no clue about that. Literally, it just showed up. And I was asking the companies, hey, we're doing these panels, it's whatever, And then some of them were like, absolutely, here's a new trailer. And then this thing, nothing. And then out of the blue, it drops in the inbox, and you're like, oh, well, I'm showing it. So, they all, and that's part of the problem. They all just have this attitude now about, well, I get you don't want to announce these things like Elder Scrolls 6, and 2 years later, we're still going, okay, come on, let's go. At least give us a window. But, and then you have all the turmoil in the industry. I don't know. I mean, this is one of those that they could squeak it out right before the holidays, or it could roll into, we could be here next year going, they tell me it's coming, but at least it's in the plans, which is progress.
After all these years. Good, beyond Good and Evil 2,
oh, geez.
6 years ago, and we haven't heard it since.
You remember when we were at E3 and they were like, yeah, we're hoping to have it out at Christmas. And they were like, yeah, we're going to hopefully have this out by Christmas or next summer. And we're just like, can we get that in writing, please?
I remember their trailer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, believe me, we've had stuff that they promised us was in. I always joke I'm still waiting for the Logan's Run movie that they told me. I remember I was at a convention in Canada and they said we start filming in 2 weeks. Still waiting. So that was 16 years ago now, I think. So
I know
yeah.
Ryan Gosling was attached to that. It's maybe now
Oh yeah. I mean, it's had so many different people attached to it now. So I'm literally when the cameras roll, it's kind of like sadly the Star Wars films of late. They keep announcing them and they don't go before the cameras. So it's like, sorry, I'm getting on a tangent. Long day.
And then I guess my other question is, when I'm to hype myself up, sometimes I listen to game soundtracks. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Do you have any soundtracks that you like?
Uncharted series, still one of my favorites.
I'm going to get in trouble for mine, but go ahead, Michael.
No, I say Uncharted series is one of my favorites. I still like to listen to a lot of the Elder Scrolls. I think Skyrim was the last one I had. What are some of the ones? Halo, obviously.
Well, you just
I know.
a game recently where you got obsessed with the soundtrack. Like,
Well, Alan Wake.
Maybe that's what.
Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Probably Alan Wake is probably the original Alan Wake. I still listen to that one regularly on when I'm in the car or whatever. And Alan Wake 2 kind of carried along the same kind of vein of the music. So orchestral versus live action, it just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for.
You have one?
I don't have one.
Victor?
I'm gonna sound weird, but like a Jet Set Radio or Tony Hawk Pro Skater. That's
Crazy Taxi.
Okay, so
Crazy.
mine is not a.
I think you're gonna get in trouble.
Mine's not a soundtrack, but it's a song, and this one's going to be obscure. So I hope you can go with this one. There was a first-person shooter back in the day called Sin. They made a couple of games. And then right around the time Half-Life 2 tried this, they tried to expand it into episodic content where they were going to release like chapters every quarter or so. So we had Sin Episode 1, and it came out, and then they just abandoned it right from that point on. But it had a really nice theme song called What's the World Come To? And it was like a full-out song with, bands, singers, everything like that. And I still find myself pulling it up on YouTube to this day. I'll be sitting down at the office, popping up the game that's now erased into, the ether, but I'm still listening to the song from it. So that's a good one.
Mine is God of War.
God of War. I was going to ask, what was yours? God of War.
That's like my hype song.
It's funny. Gaming soundtracks are getting really popular. We have this company that writes us all the time, and they're like, hey, we're putting this soundtrack out on vinyl. We're putting this soundtrack out. So a lot of stuff. We're really interested. So we have time for a few more questions. Obviously, go ahead. We'll do there and then there.
I'm one of the clowns that bought the PS5 when it first launched, and it feels like it was never properly developed because of COVID. They kept saying it's coming, and now we're hearing whispers of PS6. Are PS5 owners going to get GTA 5, BioShock, or are we just getting the proposal finger?
Well, the way I understand it is this: you're probably looking at least 2 years till the PS6 comes out. It was somebody was at a conference and he was talking about it, and he mumbled about it being in development. I'm essentially paraphrasing. Well, remember, in development could be nothing more than a bunch of sketches right now in tech specs. Is there a development kit? Probably not. I mean, it's basically they're looking at it, and this has been kind of in the industry something we figured was coming for a while, because you do the math. You look at it and you say, okay, we're about this, and so right around year 7, year 8 is when they're, going to be doing it. Now the big question will be, if Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't ship in 2025 and it slips till 2026, the running joke is going to be, it's going to be a PlayStation 6 launch title. And same with Elder Scrolls and all of that. And I'm like, no, the launch titles will be stuff we've never even heard of yet, because that's the last thing they want right now is for people to have a clue what's coming at the launch. So, but, I've been happy with it, especially the VR2. I really have enjoyed some of the new games on the VR2. There's this creepy theme park one I'm playing now called Happy Funland, which came out of nowhere, and it was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And sorry, you had one? Sorry.
Yeah.
You get this one.
First, that's all good. Was that a downloadable content for 76?
Yes, it came out this week.
Okay, it's kind of funny how they just creeped in at the end. Hey, this is part of 76.
Yes.
Which was probably the worst of the entire series. So just that was just my first question. My second part is my 3 favorite series of games were always Mass Effect, Fallout, and Borderlands. The last, and I loved all of them. I had to play every single one. The last Mass Effect was really bad.
Right.
The last Fallout, as you know, 76, garbage. And then Borderlands kind of like died off after so many years, and now seriously they're trying to bring it back. Where's the heart in these games that they used to love to put into them? Because I loved playing Fallout New Vegas. That's my all-time favorite of all time. The first 2 Mass Effect, they were awesome. After 3, you're like, hey, how the hell did it really end this way? But it did. And then it just was garbage after that. And I loved all the Fallout series. And then it just seems like everyone is giving up on making really good open world concept stories that you get involved with and just play for hours and hours, actually weeks on end, until you finally get to the end, or alternate versions and such. Hopefully there's a question in there.
Oh, there's a question. I'll say this: you're basically stepping on tomorrow's panel.
I know.
The heart basically went into the upcoming films and TV series for all 3 of them that they're trying to get out the door, and one of them is already out the door, and the other one's about to drop, and the third one's coming. So that's where all the writing talent went to.
I mean, I look forward to the Fallout series. Hopefully, it keeps more to
Right.
the game and not what Hollywood believes needs to be pushed for.
Right.
Fallout.
And that's, I think, the worry about the Borderlands movie
By the way.
is the same. Right.
Yeah, and the same thing. I was watching. All right, Borderlands. I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute. Roland was like 6'8", ginormous.
Yeah, the casting on the Borderlands movie, not really.
Don't get me started.
When they get into they get into the casting who's popular versus casting who's character.
I mean, if they put The Rock as Roland, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, that's
Got
right.
it.
That's what I thought.
100%. Nope, we're gonna go with this dude over here. Is
Right.
funny and no
And,
offense to him,
and that's where I think a lot of the film industry kind of gets it wrong. Is let's cast who's popular, not necessarily who's a good fit for the character.
And let's not forget, they finished filming that movie 2 years ago. It
Yeah.
sat for 2 years, not even getting shown at CinemaCon, nothing for 2 years, and then all of a sudden they said, oh, we're doing a couple weeks of reshoots, then nothing, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's done.
yeah.
And remember, the writer asked to have his name taken off the film. So one of the writers asked to have his name taken off the film, which is always a sign that we got a blockbuster.
Right.
So I'm hoping for better things, but yeah.
Thank you.
I
welcome.
really liked what you said about the heart, and those 3 game series that you mentioned are absolutely his 3 favorite as well. And I noticed that he ends up loving a game or a
Yeah.
series like that when he talks about it afterwards. And he'll talk about it like he talked about Alan Wake a ton. And he talked about Mass Effect a ton. And he still plays Borderlands with his friends, you know, well, once a month. And those are all games that he's talked about and loved. And they're all older games. And he hasn't had that passion for any of them lately. I'm like, what are you playing? He's more into building his computer, Gareth knows, than playing the games. And it's kind of sad because those games you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, those are his favorites. And that seems like, what, 10 years ago, you know, but
They
that
were
was
great stories.
great stories.
A lot of innovation, a lot of, yeah, it goes back to the story, like something that draws you into the environment, keeps you playing.
Yeah, you loved it. You loved it. Sad.
We're getting really close, but I know you had a question there.
Yeah, I got a question. 2 parts. What is your take on Starfield, and have y'all heard anything about the DLC for it?
Okay. Michael?
I like
Eric?
Starfield.
I love it.
I'm one of the only ones.
We have different-
Unpopular opinion.
Gareth,
I've got 85 hours, 90 hours into it. Finished it. Haven't gone back to the N+1 era yet. But I liked it. Now, is it the best story? No. Is it? But it was like, I don't know. I enjoyed my time with it. It kept me involved. It kept me playing. It probably wasn't what people were looking for, and all the criticism against it I get. So for anybody who disliked it, I get it. I had criticisms against it myself, but I didn't necessarily think it got. I think it got more hate than it deserved personally. But again, it wasn't everybody's cup of tea. But I personally liked it. Now the DLC, I'm curious. You know, they're still pushing a lot of fixes, patches, a lot of improvements to it, the lighting, a lot of other stuff. And I haven't gone back to revisit it since the patches. For my part, I didn't run into any game-breaking bugs when I played through it the first time. But I am curious to see what they do with the DLC, because I'm not as much as I like how they're doing and not to spoil it, but how they're doing the N+1, I like replaying parts of it, but I still would like to go back and continue where I left off, not necessarily in the N+1 world aspect of it. So that was my personal opinion on it. But
Mine quickly was I lost interest in it. I got tired of all the resource gathering and crafting. I got tired of running out of ammunition because I wanted to mow down as many of them as possible. And but you know, I got, like Mark said, I got to the end of it, but Fallout 76 I keep on the hard drive because every time new DLC comes out, I go and play it. I got to the point with Starfield, I said, I'm good. I'm freeing up the space. Not that I didn't have plenty of space to spare, but I just said, yeah, I'm done. I'm just not compelled. So that is going to be the last question. So everybody, thank you so much. And if you have questions, we'll be outside, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for the games and movies and TV shows based on games. Thank you so much. Have a great con.